Hello, I present to you a needs assessment of the EduCore Dynamics using the Gilbert's behavioral engineering model. The leadership at EduCore Dynamics has flagged 5 interacting performance challenges and does not yet know whether the course is training, communication, structure, or workload. They have flagged out project delays, inconsistent work quality, low morale, communication breakdowns, and software workflow inefficiencies. 38% have cited unclear communication, 41% are disconnected from goals, and 62% report missed deadlines. In undertake the needs assessment, I follow 6 steps. 1, I begin by reviewing the case. 2, I evaluate the models. And 3, I select the best fit model for the case. At the 4th stage, I apply the selected model to map every symptom, and then I compare the model to another model, and finally I draw recommendations. Now, in selection of the model, I've selected the Gilbert's behavioral engineering model because it is a diagnostic grid and not a sequencing, where every symptom is sorted into one of the 6 cells across 2 domains before any fix is chosen. In the environmental domain, we look at information, resources, and incentives. Information covers data, feedback, and clear standards. At resources, we look at the tools, materials, and time. And incentives, we look at recognition and reward structures. In the individual domain, we look at knowledge, capacity, and motivation. Skills and training comprise knowledge. Capacity is taken care of with the ability and workload fit. And at motivation, we look at individual drive and attitude. Why the BEM model for the EduCore Dynamics case? 3 reasons. 1, the model is built for ambiguity. Note that the leadership cannot say whether the course is training, communication roles, or workload. Second, the model separates training from non-training needs. It clearly distinguishes knowledge, which is training, from innovation, information, resources, incentives, capacity, and motivation, which are non-training needs. And 3, the model reveals shared root causes. The grid lets unrelated seeming symptoms like software rollout, morale scores, missed deadlines be sorted into a shared structure and compared side by side. Now, how did I go about with the mapping the challenges onto the BEM grid? Every challenge has been mapped onto the BEM component domain and evidence provided for each of them. For the project delays, is being mapped to resources and information, which is under the environment domain. The evidence is that 62% of projects miss deadlines. The second challenge, inconsistent quality, is mapped onto information under environment domain, and the evidence is that major clients requested revision citing unclear brand requirements. For low morale, it has been mapped onto motivation and incentives, and the evidence is that 41% feel disconnected from project goals. For communication breakdowns, it's been mapped onto information under environment domain. Evidence is that 38% report interdepartment communication as frustrating or unclear. And for task sync inefficiencies challenge, it has been mapped to resources and knowledge. Evidence is overlapping templates and redundant entry and possible skills gap. Overall, 60% of the challenges are environment, while 40% are both environment and individual. When I compare the BEM model to Harless front-end analysis. The Harless front-end analysis requires us to define the gap, determine if it's worth fixing, find the cause, and eventually test and fix the problem. So it is very systematic. It is strong at ruling out training is always the fixed thinking. It includes a built-in feasibility. It is the best fit when there is one clear single thread course. It says very little about workload, and it is weaker when several categories of breakdown occur at once. On the other hand, the Gilbert's BEM model that I selected handles multiple causal interacting symptoms at once. Its grid sorts unrelated symptoms into shared structure. It naturally separates training from non-training solutions, and it fits the EduCore exact mix where we have software, structure, and morale issues together. So it is the best fit when multiple causes are suspected and training alone is insufficient. In terms of its strengths and limitations, it covers environmental and individual causes simultaneously. It sorts unrelated seeming symptoms into a shared comparable structure, and it naturally distinguishes training from non-training solutions. However, it offers no explicit process for moving from diagnosis to action once causes are sorted. It doesn't connect the diagnosis to broader organizational strategy for client or market impact, and it adopts a doctor-style analogy that is strong on environment versus individual, but silent on the micro, macro, or mega alignment. Finally, I draw recommendations for both training and non-training. For the training intervention, which would be basically on the task sync skills training, the evidence was that staff report spending more time managing the software than managing their projects with redundant data entry and inconsistent tagging. And we therefore recommend to audit or interview staff first, train only the confirmed segment with a genuine skills gap and not a company-wide program. For non-training interventions, we single out 4. The first intervention is on workflow and resource redesign, and the supporting evidence is that 62% of projects missed deadlines, averaging 10 business days late. And we recommend that we redesign the workflow structure and resource allocation, including realistic deadline setting and capacity planning. For the intervention on clarified standards and feedback process, where major clients requested revision citing unclear brand and clarity expectations, we recommend to establish clear brand guidelines and structured revision checkpoints. For communication protocol redesign, where 38% of staff report interdepartment communication as frustrating or unclear, we recommend to define handoff points and formal communication protocols between departments. And finally, for recognition and goal alignment systems, where 41% of staff feel disconnected from project goals, we recommend to implement recognition systems and clearer goal communication, reassess for residual motivation issues after. In conclusion, we fix the environment first, then the individual. We do note that most of EduCore's 5 challenges trace to environment causes. Gilbert's BEM model confirms environment fixes are typically cheaper and faster, and only the task sync usage issue may warrant training. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Thank you.